Okay, so get ready because we are diving into some seriously next level AI today.
Next level is right.
We're not just talking about, LLMs writing poems anymore. We're talking about LLMs as actual agents, actually doing things in an environment.
Like playing Minecraft.
Playing Minecraft, solving logic puzzles. I mean, it's crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's really captured researchers' imaginations.
Mm-hmm.
This idea of LLMs that can interact with environments.
Yeah.
And not just process language.
Right.
Right. So these LLMs are making decisions.
Right.
They're taking actions, and importantly, they're learning from their experiences. It's not just a chatbot anymore.
Well, and you sent over a whole stack of research on this.
I did.
And I'm not going to lie, some of it blew my mind.
It's very cool stuff.
I mean, we're talking Agent Bench, Avis, Camel, cognitive maps, generative agents.
LLMs are semi-parametric RL agents.
Emergent Bench, even Voyager.
Yeah, they're really evocative names as well.
They are really evocative, but I think before we even get too far, what does it even mean for an LLM to be an agent?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? So it's all well and good to have these names, but what are we actually talking about? I think the real key distinction is this ability to interact with an environment and learn from it. So you can imagine, an LLM playing a game. So it's not just generating text. It's actually observing what's happening in the game.
Right.
It's evaluating the options. It's taking actions which change the game.
Right. So it's not just chess AI. It's actually doing stuff in a much more complex...
In a much more complex environment,
Environment. I think it's really interesting.
Well, and one of the papers even described LLMs, battling it out in this card game called AquaWar.
AquaWar, yeah.
And they have these, fish with different attributes,
so
attack power, and different things.
I love that they've grounded it in this almost tangible example.
I know, and they rank them on how good their strategy is.
Exactly, because it's no longer just about understanding language. AquaWar the game. It's about strategy. It's about managing resources. It's about predicting what your opponent is going to do.
It's like they're learning to think like us.
A little bit, yeah.
Only maybe even better when it comes to strategy.
Potentially. There's a lot of potential there.
So let's talk about these, environments. Yes, let's do it.
Because you sent over all these different papers, and it seems like they all have different environments.
They do. It's one of the things I find so fascinating about this. You're absolutely right. They're not all just doing the same thing. Researchers are really interested in exploring three main types of environments.
Okay.
And those are simulated worlds, web-based environments, and what we call embodied environments. And each one kind of gives us a different way of looking at how LLMs can function as agents.
So it's like levels of a video game, and each one has a different skill you got to master.
I love that analogy. That's great.
So level 1, simulated worlds. What's going on there?
All right, so you can think of simulated worlds like a controlled playground for these LLMs.
Okay.
So one of the papers you sent, the Agent Bench paper, it talks about environments like KG, OS, LTP, and DCG.
Catchy.
Yeah, I know they love an acronym.
They do.
But the KG one is interesting. So that's a knowledge graph environment.
Okay.
And in that environment, LLMs are basically using language to navigate this huge database of information.
So it's like training an LLM to be a super-powered research assistant?
Exactly. That is a fantastic way to put it.
Pull the right information, synthesize it.
Exactly.
What about OS? Is that operating system?
You're on fire with these. Yeah, that's right. So in the OS environment, LLMs are actually learning to interact with a simulated computer system.
Whoa.
So we're talking file management, command execution, some very, very basic programming tasks, but things that require an understanding of the logic and structure of a computer system.
That is so cool.
It's very cool.
And I have to ask about the lateral thinking puzzles. Oh, yes.
Because it sounds very Sherlock Holmes to me.
It does, doesn't it?
So tell me about that.
Yeah. So in the LTP environment, that's where it gets really interesting because these puzzles are designed to test the LLM's ability to, think outside the box, to make connections that aren't immediately obvious.
It's like those escape rooms online, but instead of clicking, you got to use language to solve it to get the clues. And
that's a brilliant way of thinking about it.
Okay, so that's simulated worlds. That's level 1.
Level 1 done.
What about these web-based environments? Is that where they finally let the LLMs loose on the internet and they do our shopping for us? Well, not quite yet. Give it time. But that is the eventual goal. So
Yeah.
in web-based environments, what researchers are doing is they're training these LLMs to actually navigate and interact with the internet,
Right.
which, as we know, is a pretty wild place.
Oh, it's a beast.
It is a beast. Understanding web pages, extracting information, interacting with forums, buttons. It's
Even I can't do that.
exactly right. And we do it every day.
Yeah.
It's a really, really complex task.
So are we talking about, like, LLMs booking our flights, managing our calendars, ordering takeout? I mean, that's the dream, right?
I mean, for some people, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. The potential is there. But there are huge challenges because the internet, as we know, it's constantly changing.
Oh,
It's this constantly evolving landscape. And LLMs need to be robust enough to deal with those changes. They need to be able to deal with errors. They need to be able to deal with the fact that not every website looks the same.
right.
These are all really complex things that we take for granted.
Totally.
That we don't even think about.
Okay. Now, level 3, embodied environments.
Okay, here we go.
This is where it gets a little too Black Mirror for me.
Yeah. So we're not talking about like robot overlords, not yet anyway.
Okay.
But we are talking about LLMs existing within a simulated physical world.
Okay.
So one of the papers that you sent me, the Voyager paper, uses the video game Minecraft as its kind of experimental playground.
So we're talking like the LLMs are running around building houses, fighting zombies.
Well, it's more like, chopping down trees, crafting tools, trying to survive, right?
Okay.
So it's a simulated environment. So we're not talking about like physical robots running around.
Right.
But we're talking about the LLM existing within that world and having to learn and adapt to the constraints of that world. So in Minecraft, that means mastering the game mechanics.
Okay.
It means interacting with objects and resources.
Yeah.
And it can even mean collaborating with other agents within that space.
Okay. I have to say, the thought of an LLM learning to play Minecraft is both fascinating and terrifying.
Yeah.
And it's not just about playing, it's about, like, they were going through the tech tree.
Yes.
The Minecraft tech tree.
That's right.
Like, mining and crafting and building at this incredibly fast rate.
At an incredible rate. And that's one of the things that really blew me away reading these papers was just how quickly these LLMs can learn.
Yeah, it was like 15 times faster than, like, any previous attempts at this, which is nuts.
Yeah, I mean, the Voyager paper particularly, it showed this really impressive ability to learn and adapt in the Minecraft environment. And even the researchers were surprised, right? They weren't expecting it to do as well as it did, particularly how quickly it could achieve certain milestones, like building a diamond pickaxe, which, trust me, in Minecraft takes a long time.
Yeah.
So the fact that it could do that so quickly is incredible.
So, okay, but what does this Minecraft mastery tell us about LLMs as agents? What's the takeaway here?
So for me, the big takeaway is just the sheer learning potential of these models.
Yeah.
Right? The fact that it can go from knowing absolutely nothing about Minecraft to being able to achieve these really complex goals in such a short space of time speaks volumes about their ability to process information, to adapt to new environments, to exhibit this kind of problem solving that we associate with human intelligence.
Yeah.
So it's not just about being good at Minecraft. It's about what this tells us about what LLMs could potentially be capable of doing.
Right. Exactly. So it's not just, oh, cool, it can play a game. It's like, what does this mean for the future of LLMs?
Precisely.
This is, like, kind of blowing my mind, this whole LLM agent thing, Like, it's exciting, but it's also a little bit, I don't know.
Yeah.
A little bit scary.
It's intimidating, for sure.
Intimidating. Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about, like, these LLMs that could potentially be, like, mastering these really complex tasks in like a fraction of the time it takes us.
Yeah.
What does that even mean for, like, the future of work, the future of research?
It's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Seriously.
It's what everyone's asking. I think researchers are really grappling with that at the moment.
Yes.
But the implications of this are huge.
Yeah.
I mean, we could be talking about healthcare, education, even like creative arts.
Yeah.
Imagine having AI assistants that can't just understand what we need, but actually go out and do it for us.
Right.
And learn as they go.
Yeah, like a whole team of superpowered interns who actually listen to you.
And learn from their mistakes, right?
Yes.
Which is a big bonus.
Yeah.
Before we get too carried away.
Right.
Because there are limitations, right?
Right, and the papers talk about this. So, like, what's holding them back? What are, like, the big hurdles?
So, two big challenges that come up again and again are what we call hallucination and reasoning.
Okay.
And generalization.
Okay. Hallucination.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of creepy.
It does, doesn't it?
Is it like the LLMs are like seeing things?
Not literally.
Yeah.
Well, not yet anyway.
Right.
No, it's when LLMs generate these outputs that are factually incorrect, or maybe they're just logically inconsistent.
Right.
They might get stuck in these weird loops. They misinterpret information, or they jump to conclusions without enough data.
So, like, when I try to put together IKEA furniture without the instructions.
Exactly. That's a great analogy.
Okay.
Because they don't have that kind of, like, inherent understanding.
Right.
That we do, that common sense.
Right.
Which, as we know, is not that common.
Not that common, exactly.
But yeah, it's that intuitive understanding of how the world works.
And this kind of ties into the reasoning problem, I'm guessing?
Absolutely. Yeah, so one of the papers, the Cognitive Maps paper, talks about this idea that these hallucinations, they come from a lack of what researchers call cognitive maps.
Cognitive maps, so like their internal mental model of the world.
Exactly. Yeah, so you can think of it like a map, right?
Yeah.
But it's not just showing you where things are.
Right.
It's showing you the relationships between things.
Okay.
It's showing you the rules, the cause and effect.
Mm.
Like, if you do this, this will happen.
Right, so like if I leave the milk out, it's going to go bad.
Exactly. Precisely.
Yeah.
But we build these maps through our experiences.
Okay.
Right. LLMs are still kind of figuring that out.
So they're still building the maps, which explains why they make some interesting decisions sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And without that map, they're going to get lost.
Right, okay.
Right.
Okay, and then what about generalization?
Okay, so generalization is this idea that the LLM can apply what it's learned in one context to a totally different one.
Okay.
So it's like, you might be a Minecraft pro.
Right.
But can you then use that to navigate the first-person shooter game?
Right. Okay, so two totally different
things.
skill sets.
Exactly.
Okay.
So while LLMs can be amazing in a specific domain, getting them to then take that and be like, okay, now I'm going to go and do something else with that.
Right.
That's really, really difficult.
It's like expecting like a chess grandmaster to be amazing at poker.
Exactly. Yeah, there's some overlap.
There's some
strategy involved, but the rules are different.
Totally different.
The strategies are different.
Okay.
The nuances are different.
So as much as we're like, wow, look, it can play Minecraft.
Yeah.
We shouldn't expect it to, like, design our dream house next.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Give it time. So yeah, generalization is a big one.
Okay.
Researchers are really working on that. But it's one of those things that will really shape, I think, where AI goes.
Yeah. It seems like even with these limitations, this is a pretty big step forward, right? In terms of, like, what AI can do.
We're absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
From what we were working with even a couple of years ago, LLMs as agents, it's a whole paradigm shift, right?
Okay.
We're moving away from these kind of narrow, task-specific algorithms to these more general, adaptable systems that can learn, that can reason, and that can even exhibit, a form of artificial agency.
Okay. Artificial agency. Now we're getting into, like,
Where we go.
the big questions.
I know. Are we saying these LLMs are sentient? Are they conscious?
Right.
Well, that's a whole other podcast.
Right, exactly.
And a very long conversation.
We're going to need a lot more research.
We're going to need a lot more research papers. But I think for now, when we talk about agency, we're talking about the ability to act within this defined environment.
Okay.
To make decisions, to take actions that change things around it.
So not like sentient beings, but definitely a lot more than like the rule-based systems we're used to.
Exactly. A lot more.
Yeah.
This is a whole new breed of AI.
Okay.
And it's one that we're only just beginning to understand.
Yeah. It's both exciting and terrifying. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little like,
I know. Yeah.
Where is this all going?
I'm with you. It really is a whole new world, isn't it?
It is. It is. And we have to be careful.
We do.
We have to be thoughtful.
It's a Pandora's box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was this thing, experience memory, that I kept seeing.
Yes.
In these papers.
Tell me about that. What grabbed you about that?
It's like giving LLMs a history, right?
Yeah.
Like they can remember what they've done.
It's so interesting, isn't it? So this idea of experience memory comes up in, let me see, the LLMs are semi-parametric RL agents paper.
Okay.
And it's fascinating because imagine an LLM that can not only access all this data, right, all this information,
right,
but it can also remember its own interactions, like the decisions it made, the outcomes.
It's actually lived it.
It's like it has a personal history.
Yeah, it's not just facts. It's like understanding
the how and the why.
Yeah, like how we learn from our mistakes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they can adapt.
Exactly.
And they're not just stuck with this, like...
static knowledge.
Yeah.
Which is incredible when you think about it. And it gets even wilder because some of the research talks about LLMs learning from each other.
Okay, wait. How does that even... I know. So the Camel paper, that's communicative agents for multimodal embodied language learning.
Catchy.
Very catchy. They talk about this, like collaborative learning, even like role-playing.
Wait, hold on. LLMs are, like, pretending to be different.
They're like, let's try this out.
Yeah.
So they can embody different personas.
Oh, my gosh.
Have these dialogues, these debates, and then work together to solve a problem.
Yes. Wild.
It is absolutely wild. It's like we're creating this whole society.
It's like Westworld or something.
It's getting there, isn't it? But imagine, like, working with AI, learning from it, and them having their own, like, unique perspectives.
Okay. And then there's MLegend Bench.
MLegend Bench, yes.
Which, this one was just too much for me because it's like AI building AI.
It's very meta, isn't it?
It's very meta.
So MLegend Bench is all about how LLMs can help in the process of, like, machine learning itself.
So instead of us, like, feeding data into the model, we have the LLMs
doing it for us.
Doing all the work, which is both good and bad.
Well, exactly. I mean, imagine an LLM that can design the experiments.
Yeah.
Optimize those parameters, even debug the code.
Yeah.
I mean, that would speed things up.
That would be incredible for so many fields.
Oh, absolutely. Think of drug discovery, material science, even climate modeling.
Yeah.
But you're right, there are limitations. They still struggle with tasks that need that deep knowledge.
Right.
And that ability to generalize.
Right. Which seems to be, like, the theme here.
It's a bit of a recurring theme.
Yeah.
But what's exciting is this shift.
Yeah.
LLMs aren't just tools anymore.
Right. They're like...
collaborators, partners. And I think that's what's really captured people's imagination.
It makes it a little less scary when you think of it that way.
A little bit, right. And who knows what they'll discover. It's exciting. And I think on that note, to our listeners, what possibilities are you most excited about? What do you think the future holds for us and these LLMs?
Yeah.
Because one thing is for sure, it's going to be a wild ride. Until next time, keep on diving deep.
Keep diving deep.